Welcome to our episode of Fault Lines CTRL+F, special series live at the Reagan National Defense Forum. I'm NSI Senior Fellow Morgan Vina, and my co-host for today's special episode is NSI Senior Fellow Jessica Jones. This year, we at NSI have created a crossover between our two podcasts, Fault Lines and the CTRL+F series, titled Modern Deterrence, Allies, Innovation, and the Future of Defense. Building on RNDF's overarching theme of restoring deterrence with peace through strength, this series will examine how the United States and its allies can restore, promote, and sustain deterrence in an era defined by technological competition, hybrid conflict, and rapid modernization across the defense landscape. In each of our upcoming episodes, the team will conduct on-site conversations at RNDF with defense leaders, policymakers, technologists, and allied representatives. Each episode will align with a central theme but highlight a distinct lens based on guest expertise and RNDF participant categories. On this special episode, we are sitting down with Dan Jablonsky, the CEO of Ursa Major, a private defense company specializing in aerospace technology, specifically rocket and satellite propulsion. Before he was appointed CEO of Ursa Major, Jablonsky served as president of Maxar Technologies, where he led a growth and scaling strategy that culminated in Maxar's acquisition by Advent International. He also served in a variety of roles at Digital Global, overseeing satellite constellations and ground stations, operations to deliver high-resolution satellite data for classified and cyber-resilient systems. Separately, he has served as an adjunct professor at the University of Denver Law School for 6 years, teaching advanced courses on mergers and acquisitions law. And he also served in uniform as a surface warfare officer and nuclear engineer. He holds a JD from the University of Washington School of Law and a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering from the U.S. Naval Academy. Dan, thank you for joining us and welcome to the pod. Let's talk about your present leadership of Ursa Major. Ursa Major is part of a growing wave of private companies shaping defense technology. So talk to me a little bit about what Ursa Major does and the value you bring to the defense technology space. And then also, adding on to that, talk to me about the role of private industry that we see growing in the evolving national security space and technological competition.
Sure, and thanks Morgan and Jessica for having me this morning. It's really a pleasure to be with you and love the podcast. So I think the first question you asked was, what are we up to? What does Ursa Major do? What are we trying to solve? And the way I kind of think about it is, okay, the companies do certain things, but what do companies exist to do? What is it? What is the market? What is the customer base we're serving? And when we think about it from that lens, we think about what hard problems are we trying to solve for national security right now? And the first of those is homeland defense. So it's everybody's very aware of this, especially with your podcast. But the world has changed quite a bit in the last 20 years. China's ascendancy, Russia starting wars in Europe, things happening in the Middle East, and we need to keep up with technological advances in the United States, and we need to do it a lot faster than we have, and we need to be able to do things at speed and at scale, and so remanufacturing in the United States as well, the industrial base. So the first one, when I say homeland defense, where we're focused there is on hypersonics. So things that go more than 5 times the speed of sound, more than 3,800 miles per hour, or 37 minutes from the coast of China to Guam. That's the way to think about hypersonics. These are really fast problems. Now, in hypersonics, we're not just talking about the speed characteristic, but we're talking about agility and maneuverability along that train. That makes them very, very agile. That makes them very, very survivable and hard to shoot down. The second thing we're working on is in some of that rocket technology, we've adapted it for space mobility. So as we think about space being the ultimate high ground for strategic imperatives, being able to move satellites around quickly, being able to have space-based interceptors for things like Golden Dome applications, and just moving satellites in general, you have to be able to do that just like you do in the air, just like you do on the sea, just like you do on the ground, or you're a stable target for everybody else. Mm-hmm. So we're focused on that problem as well. We've got crossover technologies in both realms. and really loving the partner ecosystem there. And then the third thing we're doing is we're reindustrializing on solid rocket motors, which has been a critical shortage in the supply chain. We're working on fixing that problem. So we're about 350 people right now. We're growing very rapidly. We're up 100 since I got there a year and a half ago. And we're located in Berthoud, Colorado, about halfway between Denver and Fort Collins. And we've got like some of the best engineers and scientists and fun people to work with that you can see anyplace else.
Awesome. I think we're going to dig down a little more into the technology. As you know, we are a policy audience a lot, so keep it simple for some of the audience members. So you mentioned, lastly, kind of the solid rocket motor production and focus that Ursa has. If you could tell us a little bit more for our audience who might not know how important solid rocket motors are to kind of national security tech. Why does that matter? What kind of capabilities does that bring? Are there other partners in this space that are kind of also jumping on and realize how important it is in manufacturing as well?
Yeah, and kind of to be clear, like this is an area we started up about 2 years ago just because we realized it was another area of critical shortages. So it doesn't detract from anything we're doing on the hypersonics or space mobility side. But with the solid rocket motor, so a solid rocket motor, think about like a really simple version would be fireworks that you use, like a bottle rocket. That's a solid propellant. It's a small guy with black powder. We have really advanced chemical energetics that we use in the nation's solid rocket motor. So if you see something leaving an airplane and flying, or you see something leaving a ship or out of a ground-based terminal usually, that's a solid rocket motor that propels a missile. And we've been using them now for multiple decades, but the advances in terms of the rocket technology really haven't gone forward very fast. So what we're trying to do is not take 1970s, 1980s architecture, and it's great that people have been doing this along the way, but bringing a new level of innovation and investment into the development of these things, into the production of them, and the scalability. And so that we can do this in a way that we from a capitalist perspective, I'm an industrialist, we're a lot more agile in the capital deployment and a lot more better value for our customers and my investors. So we've, in the company to this point, I think you'd asked about the industrial base, we've put about $250 million of capital to work, private money already. That's a big number, right?
That's huge, yeah.
That means that's not we got paid by someone to do that. We raised money and we deployed $250 million to develop these technologies and bring them to the field. We just completed another raise, and we're ready to deploy the next round of our investors' money to solve these problems. We need to make sure, from a policy perspective, though, that we get a return on that money, or capital does not flow into these businesses that way anymore. So this is like the capital formation groups in the country have stepped up and said these are important topics. We're going to back a company that we think can get these things done.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. As we've seen, this administration has really taken an aggressive approach in partnering with private industry and really leveraging U.S. innovation to ensure that the U.S. homeland, as well as our allies and partners, maintain, a sufficient level of safety and security. Talk to me a little bit about how you see Ursa Major's role in this changing landscape, and what does this portend for the next few years?
Sure, and so our mission, we write our mission statements down, we have OKRs, we're a tech company, right? We measure everything, is to be the world's next great aerospace and defense company. And we're not shy about that. Like we're growing very rapidly, we're solving hard problems, and we want to be there and we want to matter. That doesn't mean others aren't innovating. I think the thing I love about the industry is we'll partner with anybody to solve a problem. We'll partner with the primes, we'll partner with the young ecosystem providers, we'll partner directly with the services or the tech industry as well, like capital formation, right? So we're working with Palantir, we're working with a number of other tech companies, we're working with the primes as well. In fact, one of the primes, RTX Ventures, invested in our company. So there's like this ecosystem that we think we're part of to go solve big problems. We love competition. We love people that like to move fast. We love people that want to solve things because these things matter. Like, right, the defense of the Western democracies, the freedom that we have, we were here at the Reagan Conference, Peace Through Strength, those things don't exist if you don't have deterrence capabilities. Now, we build these things and we hope we don't have to use them, but building them and making sure we have them actually causes people to, adversaries, people that would like to take advantage of us or our interests or harm those interests from doing those kind of things. That's what we're up to here.
And then because I had you focus a bit on the solid rocket motors, back to the hypersonics. Again, let's explaining for our audience like why this matters, why it's so important. You gave some really cool numbers of what that means as we try to picture how fast, hypersonic speed. Can you tell us a little more about how that's critical though to U.S. national security?
Yeah. So think about any, like in a very simplistic form. If we can hit from further away, and we can hit faster, and we can hit with more mass, that's a strategic advantage to us. If somebody else can do that to us, that puts us back. So if you think about right now, we are behind in hypersonic technology. While we were working on the global war on terror and distracted elsewhere in the world, China moved ahead in defense applications in the Pacific that are caused on keeping us away from their spheres of influence. And they're using hypersonics and deployed hypersonics as part of that thing to keep our ships and planes and assets very far away. And if they can strike further and faster and keep us out of that zone of influence, then they've gotten their political objectives. We have not fielded a hypersonic system as the United States for a program of record before. We've spent billions and billions of dollars on these programs and have a lot of cool tech, but nothing in the field. So our goal is to provide an affordable, mass-produced hypersonic capability. So one, we can afford a lot of them, and we can reassert dominance in the Pacific the way the United States should be able to for its heirs. Just if you think about the geopolitical situation, right, a little bit here, the last time the United States went to war against an adversary that had better technology than we did, this has been a long time, right, was in World War II in the Pacific was the first place. Zero fighters that Japan had were outclassing ours. They had better technologies. It took us quite a while to, before we developed the P-51 and some other things. We got pushed back in the Pacific. We got pushed all the way back to Australia. Now, if you think about, we don't want that to happen. A lot of lives, treasure, blood, all those kind of things, bad things. The last time that we fought a war where an adversary had better technological capabilities and a better industrial base was the War of 1812. And they burned the capital to the ground. So this is a real imperative. We want to have the world's best industrial base, and we want to have the world's best economy, but we also want to have the world's best and most advanced defense technologies.
Just a quick follow-up beforehand to Morgan. You referenced China moving forward on hypersonic technologies, outpacing the U.S. right now. How fast can we close that gap, right? What does it take for us to catch up, and how quickly can we do that? Because you've laid out what can happen when we fall behind both on technology and the industrial base.
Yeah, so we're not thinking about this as a 2030 problem. We're not thinking about this as a 2035 problem. We've gone from a contract with the Air Force in May to being ready to fly a hypersonic this month. All around. Yeah, exactly.
So quickly. Yeah.
So it's not only we want these things to fly very fast, we want them to get to flight very fast. Because the startup culture, not just startup culture, innovative culture, disruptive culture that we have is you have to get things in the field. Until you get them in the field, until you get them off the CAD drawings, they're not real. And you don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work. You kind of know, but you don't know. And it's really, it's hard to design something. It's 10 times harder to build it. And then it's 10 times harder than that to build it at scale and at quality. And so we need to move through that ecosystem as fast as we possibly can. That means getting to flight, learning as much as you can, then refining the system, flying it again, and then moving into production.
Dan, you raise a lot of really excellent points here, and I think one of the things that's really essential to ensuring this sort of U.S. primacy and sustainability in the defense space is really building trust between government and private industry, and I'd be curious to know, particularly in this environment in which we don't have a top line for U.S. appropriations, for defense appropriations for next year. We are not following regular order in Congress. Many would lament this. I talk to members every day, and it's really waning on them in terms of how effective they feel that they can be in their roles. And so I'd be curious to know, what do you want to see to ensure that the government, sustains that trust with private industry?
Yeah, I meif this is a team sport, and everybody's got a job to do, and they can't be distracted or beat down by the fact that they didn't pass a budget, because, like, if you pick up the Constitution, it says Congress shall pass a budget. That's part of their job. They need to get that done. They need to get that solved, and they need to compromise where they need to compromise, but they need to do that so that the country can move forward. China did not have a shutdown this year. We've been
Good
pushed
point.
off the ranges.
Do they ever have a shutdown? What is that?
We've been pushed off ranges for over 90 days because the government shut down, and one of the things that got shut down were the ranges where we test these things. That's just not acceptable. So that needs to get fixed. I am in contact with a lot of people on Capitol Hill and their staffs and those kind of things, and my message to them is, hey, look, everybody's got to do their part. You want us to do our part. You got to do your part too. You got to pass budgets. You have to give certainty. You have to give the right authorities where they're needed. And you've done a lot of that. There's a lot of great people that are working on this. They can't be beat down. They can't be distraught. They just got to go do their job. Exactly. Got to power through and fix it. Because if you think about it, like we're building next generational things. I'm putting capital in the ground, right? That capital provides capabilities, but we don't put capital in the ground without a return. And the return we get is when we know somebody needs it, right? That's how this works, and we try and match that market to the fit. But so yeah, everybody's got to do their job, and I think it's great that you guys got a job too, right? Like you got to expose this. You got to tell people, hey, look, like these are the consequences of us not taking this seriously enough.
Not testing for 90 days does not work in a timeline. You're like,
yeah, no, and kudos to the administration, Secretary Hegseth, DepSec War, Feinberg. Like they said, hey, look, we are doing our job. We're going to go to wartime footing. We're going to move very, very quickly here. We need the industry to do their job. Now, everybody across that ecosystem needs to do that too. And we got to keep pushing on it because it's really easy to get stuff going and then let them fall back. That's just human nature. That's organizational nature. That's cultural nature. We got to push through that.
Yeah.
It's too urgent.
So switching gears a little, we're here at Reagan, and one of the topics we talk about are, allies and partners across the globe. So thinking about that, thinking about NATO and other security relationships, how does Ursa Major think about interoperability? It's, when it comes to defense technology, how do you think about that ecosystem beyond the U.S.?
Yeah, so when I was at Digital Globe and then Maxar, I ran my first job as not a lawyer was running our international...
Hey, we like lawyers here.
I still like lawyers. No, but my first job as not a lawyer was running international defense and intelligence. So I have relationships across the Middle East. I had customers across the Middle East with the U.S. allies. Same thing in Europe and Eastern Europe. Same thing in Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, AUKUS partners. And they need these capabilities too. And I was very proud to have those nations as partners and as customers. We want to do the same thing here. Now, the most important thing we can do there is not provide bespoke one-off systems that they can't integrate into their defense. So they might have a different front-end system. They might have a different seeker. They might have something locally made that they want to pair something with. So our focus is modularity. Yeah. So if the same chip can go into lots of different computers, then you could decide what kind of computer you want to build with it. Right. If the same rocket motor or the same engine or the same capability can be tailored, software defined some of it, very quick engineering changes to be able to let them put it into the systems that they need. Then they can go faster, they can they can commit budgets better, and they can be better partners to the United States too.
Yep. So Dan, shifting gears slightly here, one of your key achievements was really this multi-billion-dollar acquisition when you were president of Maxar Technologies. Talk to me a little bit about sort of lessons learned from that, and how do you talk to other, startup founders or future founders about sort of lessons learned and how you see where you see the opportunities for the startup culture in today's environment.
Yeah, so and just president and CEO. No, I just want
no big deal. No big.
No, well, I just I was I had to take the slings and arrows for everything that happened there, right? there was nobody to say there was somebody else I could kick it up. Like I always told my team, if you're looking for the room where the decision is made, you're in it. Like there's no other room. There's no place we're going tomorrow to see if somebody else has a different idea. We're going to do it here. One of the most important lessons I learned was that in order to build great businesses, you need great people, you need great culture. We really focus on our values because culture and values beat strategy every day of the week. Yep. You can change strategy. You can't change how people show up, how they respect each other, whether they got grit and resilience or not, whether they deliver results. So delivering results is really important. I was at a meeting with some very senior Air Force people, and we finished the talk, and they're like, Dan, that sounds really exciting. But I'm going to talk to my PhD guys over here, and they're going to tell me why what you just said is maybe not possible. And I won't give the names up, but Dr. X says, actually, sir, These guys do what they say they're going to do. They deliver their results and they deliver them on time. And if they say they're going to do it, they're going to go do it. That's what we need to do. That's how you build that trust. Now you build that trust with investors. You build that trust with your teammates and the employees. I'm one of them at the company, and you build trust in the financial markets. So if you say you're going to do something, you do it. And if you can't do it, you explain what happened, and you own your mistakes. Everybody makes them. Hope not to make too many, and you have to have not too many lessons. I got scars. I'd rather not have a lot of scars because that means something was bleeding at some point. So that's the biggest part. And then the other thing is, because this is a company, right? This is private industry. We need to create value for the people that invest in the companies. So the way I think about that is really smart capital deployment, generating return for investors. By that I mean the per share price of this company should go up and to the right. That's my measure of value. Like that, they can look at that, and they can look at that against a range of investments, treasury bonds, pharmaceuticals, anything else they might do, hide the money in their mattress, and they could say, no, we like this one. It delivers good returns. We want to give them more capital, and then that gives me a chance to build a bigger company and invest in more things and more people and more technology. So that's how I think about it.
Yeah, excellent. Dan, thank you so much for your time. This has been a wonderful conversation. I know I've learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners, have
Me
as well.
Too.
So with that said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of RNDF and you get to meet lots of folks and work harder to promote U.S. innovation because we desperately need it. I think, I understand, Secretary Hegseth will be speaking about some of this later today. So with that said, that is a wrap. Thanks to Kelly Crowley, Ann Long, Claude Jennings, and the entire NSI staff for helping to produce today's episode. The Fault Lines and CTRL+F podcasts, including our live from RNDF series, are also on YouTube. So please be sure to check out our NSI page on YouTube for a video of today's episode. As always, if you like what you heard, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.